night. Mark Golding was there, Donna Scott Motley,
Yes.
Kamina Johnson Smith, I saw Dana Morris Dixon, and a lot of people from the business community, and people just had a good time. Everybody was awestruck, just walking around looking like, oh my gosh, oh my God. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
I saw some good people last night.
Good stuff.
Yes. This morning I have some questions to ask the chairman of the Firearm Licensing Authority, Justice Glenn Brown, retired Justice Glenn Brown. And there's so much to say about this issue of the Integrity Commission report into allegations of corruption, impropriety, and irregularities in the grant, variation, and revocation of firearm licenses, storage of firearms and ammunition at the FLA. That's the title of the report I just read for you. And the first thing is to say, you wonder about why people believe that they can do communication better than experts and not take expert communication advice about managing certain situations. Because one of the first things you ask, and going by the line that the Integrity Commission uses often, which is to say a reasonable observer would say this, a reasonable observer, having listened to the details of the report, would say, well, why was Parliament not willing to publish this? Or why was the FLA desirous of going to court to change aspects of this thing before it was published, or to get a chance to respond to certain things? Why? Because there's no criminal charge emanating from the report, so why would they do that? And on the face of it, that's a reasonable thing to ask. But you look at the allegations made against individuals in the report that are standing as we speak, and depending on what happens in court, I mean, they stand forever. And you wonder about reputations. There are a couple names mentioned here that I don't know how those men are going to carry on here with people believing that they are above corruption in their current jobs and going forward. And I don't know how people will believe them if they say they didn't act corruptly when they were at the FLA, based on what is here. And that goes to the heart of what the FLA's court challenge was. And I say something on communication quickly, and I was saying it this morning. A wise man told me, Tana, a wise man who has never been a wise guy. Difference between a wise guy and a wise man. But this wise man said something about communication advice. And I'm putting it together this way to say, people take medical advice. People take legal advice. People don't take communication advice because everybody knows how to communicate. Everybody knows how to say what and when to say what. And they avoid the common sense approach, the skilled approach that people who are professionals in the area give them about managing crises and communicating in a timely and effective manner. And small things mushroom into big problems when it could have been kept small by effective and timely communication. That's all I'll say on that. But here's the thing now, retired Justice Brown, the chairman of the FLA. Why is it that at 6:42 a.m., the day after this thing was tabled in Parliament, we still haven't had a statement from the FLA defending itself? Among the claims made in the report and the conclusions drawn by the Integrity Commission, that ammunition is missing. .22 caliber ammunition is missing. The report says that over 100 and almost 200 rounds unaccounted for. My information is that the ammunition has been accounted for. My information is that there is a logical explanation as to what happened to the ammunition. That based on the age of the bags and the movement constantly in the vault over time. By the way, .22 ammunition is what they use for small game hunting, bird shooting if you may, and for training, because it's not of a caliber enough to pose a serious risk when used otherwise. You can't hunt big game So it's small game hunting and for training purposes. That's what that ammunition is used for. But the report says that the ammunition is unaccounted for. My information is that the ammunition has been accounted for. So why, retired Justice Brown, has this information not been put into the public domain so that people can balance it against what the commission lays out in its 131-page report? The other big point from the report is that an employee, well, let's start with Callum first, that Mr. Callum was involved in a request from him for $2 million to do what he's employed to do for free. In other words, you should not extort money from clients for services that the FLA provides, and the allegation is that he did that. One of the reasons the FLA, again, I'm being made to understand, was going to the court was that, listen, these specific allegations that are raised, these things were not said to us over the course of the investigation. We only found out about them after you prepared the report. You did not give us an opportunity to say to you, well, so and so and so, or to even have Callum speak in his own defense. But you've published the report, in the report, to say that this is the bribe that he sought to engineer. And a person would be accurate to say, Callum, the report from the FLA says that you sought to get $2 million from an individual. The FLA, the Integrity Commission report says so, which is true. The report says so. No mention of the context in which that is said in the report. But Callum has this thing against his name, and it will walk with him until he expires. Is that fair? Why is it that this wasn't put up front and the authority given a reasonable opportunity to respond? That's one. Two, the chap in the report referred to as Chevron Robinson, who the Integrity Commission says manipulated the database to injure a firearm license dealer. The commission says that based on what it found, there's a possible breach of the Cybercrimes Act, and a reasonable person can say, yes, the database was manipulated. My information is that the FLA did an audit of the database and found no manipulation. In fact, if you skip to the back of this report, there's a letter from the CEO of the FLA to the Integrity Commission, making that same point that, look, these are among the things that we never knew were a part of the investigation until we saw your report. So we never get a chance to tell you that we did an audit of the system. And the audit, which results, of course, would be available to you. The audit has found no manipulation of the management system, the database, the licensing management system. Yeah? The point 10 of the letter to you on March 24, 2026 to the Integrity Commission, March 24, 2026, by the FLA CEO says, we further state that software manipulation refers to the intentional alteration or interference with a system's functionality, logic, or outputs to produce an unauthorized or misleading result. The FLA systems are auditable and have been audited. Our findings indicate there has been no system manipulation. Additionally, system logs, audit transactions, and access controls were reviewed and show no signs of unauthorized activity or tampering. The Integrity Commission report in its findings, the body of the report, doesn't speak to this observation made by the FLA, but it has the allegation that the system appears to have been manipulated. And if you follow the Integrity Commission's report, were it not for that massive data breach where the system crashed then, the system crashing, the Integrity Commission would lead a reasonable observer to believe, were it not for that crash, there would have been evidence to support its feeling that the system had been manipulated. But because of the crash, that piece of evidence is not there, so it can't proffer charges for breaching the Cybercrimes Act or for whatever, for manipulation. But a reasonable person can draw that conclusion. How? When you yourself have not found anything to cause you to recommend a charge for Mr. Chevron Robinson. But what it boils down to, Integrity Commission, is that you're saying that you feel as if the system was manipulated, and make no mention in the body of the report about the FLA's own observation, but it's appended to the report in the letter that the FLA CEO sent to you on March 24 this year. So like Callum, with the $2 million question hanging over his head of whether or not he sought a bribe to the value of $2 million to do his job, Chevron Robinson, who's no longer at the FLA, according to the report, can be reasonably suspected of being a systems manipulator because the Integrity Commission report says so. Even though the system he's said to have manipulated didn't rise to the level for the Integrity Commission to say charge him. And the FLA has said, well, there was no system error. And we did not know, or we do not know what Mr. Robinson told you, because we weren't told of what Mr. Robinson said before you made the report, compiled the report, and made the findings that you did. We weren't given an opportunity to answer those things. And again, in case you were wondering why the FLA went to court, it was saying that there are findings in your report, conclusions, that you really should have given us an opportunity to respond to. The fact that ammunition were missing, you concluded that ammunition was missing. We reviewed and found that the ammunition has been accounted for. It's not missing. 2, you said that systems were manipulated. We audited the systems. There is no manipulation. So that could have been resulted in a different way, a different framing, a different statement from you, if we had been given the opportunity up front. And of course, the $2 million question, is there anything in the report to say you interviewed Callum and put the allegations to him and his response was this? No. But the allegation is there that Callum is a $2 million bribe seeker. The Integrity Commission's report is hard. Work is hard. And we need an Integrity Commission. But these are the real things you have to balance people's reputations. The allegations against them, the chance for them to defend themselves against the allegations. And if you're going to say that it appears as if someone acted corruptly or acted unlawfully, you can't leave that there without the weight of evidence to support, because again, the fact the report says so carries weight, and it's not weight that is healthy for a person who has not been proven to be guilty to have to walk with their own on their backs. And the chairman of the FLA, I expect to hear from you very soon, sir, retired Justice Glenn Brown, to seek to set the record straight where the authority is concerned. Because, as the Integrity Commission says, a reasonable observer will leave this report believing that corruption is rife at the organization that you lead the board of directors for.